Hello everyone, this is Shanko and welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about dependency injection, and I'm going to show how dependency injection works and how we can use Spring to inject dependencies into other components in a project. So for the demo, I've already created a project named demo. Let's look at the dependencies for this project. So let's open a POM and go to dependencies. So we have Spring Boot Starter, so that would provide us the basic dependencies for a Spring project. And then we have Spring Boot Starter Test, so that would add the dependencies for testing and stuff. And then we have Spring Boot Dev Tools, so every time we save our project or every time we make a save, it's going to restart the server. So that is basically it for dependencies. And this is going to be the entry point for our application. So we have this Spring Boot application annotation here, and then we have configuration, then we have the main method here, right? So I'm going to create a class and call it perform math operation. Great. I'm going to create a class and say perform math operation, and what I'm going to do is I have a method called public int say sum, and this would take in two parameters, so int a and int b, and it would return the sum of a and b, right? And then let's have another method public int subtract, right? Again, this would take in two parameters and it would return the sum, return math dot, it will return the difference between the two numbers. So math dot apps. What I'm going to do is a minus b, right? Okay, so now if you want to do a sum of two numbers, say 3 and 5, how do we do that? So what we need to do is inside the main method we can create an object of perform math operation class, right? And let's call it PMO equals new perform math operation, right? And what we can do is system.out.println PMO dot say sum, so let's say 3 and 5, right? And let's say system.out.println PMO dot subtract, say 3 and 5, right? Now let's run this, run as Spring Boot app, and let's see what happens. Okay, so we have our result 8 and 2, right? So this is working just fine, but what if we need these methods in another class? What if there's another component and there are multiple components in which these functionalities are required? So when we are attaching a functionality to a particular class, so if we are using this functionality again somewhere in some other component, we again need to create an object in this way and then use use this very functionality of this particular class, right, in the other component. So instead of doing that, what we can do is, and every time we need to remember one thing: every time we create objects, it occupies space in the memory, and there are various there are a few things that we need to keep in mind when we create objects. So there's a life cycle for every object, and once there's no reference of a particular object that is being used in the program, the object is garbage collected, right? The object is removed from the memory, right? So to be able to use the memory in a better way, we should ideally not be creating an object ourselves. We should rather tell Spring to create an object for us. So how do we do that? So let's remove this, and let's delete this class, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an interface, and I'm going to say math operation, right? And inside this interface, I'm going to say int operate, right? This is going to take two variables, int a and int b, right? So we have our interface. Now let's create a class, and let's call it sum, and this should implement math operation, right? Okay, and let's create another class and call it subtract, and this should again implement math operation, right? Alright, so first inside sum, I'm going to mark this as a component. So when I mark a class as a component, I'm telling Spring that Spring is supposed to create an object, or Spring is supposed to create a bean for this class when the application context is loaded, right? And I would just return a plus b, right? And inside subtract, let's say component. So again, this would tell Spring to create a bean of this class when the application context is loaded, right? And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say math dot apps a minus b, right? Now let's do one thing. Here what we're going to do is, so I'm going to say private math operation, and say give a name ABC, right? And we say Autowired, right? So what does this annotation Autowired mean? This means that we are asking Spring to inject a dependency of this type into this variable, right? So as we can see, math operation is an interface, right? And we cannot have an object of an interface unless it is, of course, and anonymous in our class. We cannot have an object of an interface, right? So it should be injecting one of the implementing classes, so either sum or subtract, into this variable, because sum is also of type math operation and subtract is also of type math operation, and we are telling Spring by using this annotation Autowired, we are telling Spring to inject a type which is math operation into this variable called ABC, right? What we're going to do is we're going to print ABC dot. Okay, so since this is static, right, so what I'll do is I'll create a bean, bean, and I'll say public void test operation, right? Let's say system.out.println abc dot operate 3 and 5, right? And let's try to run this application. It would obviously give us an error. Let's see what the error is. Okay, so what do we have? It says application failed to start, failed ABC in demo application required a single bean but two were found, subtract and sum. So what does this mean? So there were two beans which qualified to be injected into this particular variable, right? So what we are telling Spring is we are telling that inject a type which is math operation into this variable ABC, but there are two objects or there are two beans, namely sum and subtract, which are of the type math operation, and Spring doesn't know which one it needs to inject into ABC, right? So that is why we are getting this exception. Now what if we change the name of this to something like sum and try to run this? So now this time we don't get an error and we get the result as 8. Why so? Even now we have two beans which qualify to be injected into this particular variable called sum, and still Spring understands which bean we are trying to inject into this variable, right? This is because Spring by default would create a bean named sum and attach an object of this class into that bean, right? And again it would create a bean named subtract and attach an object of subtract class into that particular bean, right? Now here what we are doing, here we are setting the name of the variable as sum. So this is basically called injection by name, right? So we are telling Spring that if you find a bean with this particular name, then please inject that bean into this variable. So that is why it is injecting the bean called sum into this variable named sum. Now what if we change the name of the variable? What if we change the name of the variable to subtract? Right. Let's run this. So we have our result this time, right? And say we had just one class, so just let's remove subtract, let's delete this, and let's name this ABC again. Let's run this. So this time Spring doesn't throw an error because there's only one object, or there's only one bean that qualifies to be injected into this variable, because we are telling Spring that we want you to inject a bean which is of type math operation into this variable, and there is only one qualifying bean, which is sum, because we don't have subtract now, and that is why it doesn't matter what name we are using for the variable, it'll inject the bean that qualifies for this injection, right? Now let's get back our class subtract and add math operation, right? Finish. Now this is component, and right, okay, I'm gonna say math.abs a minus b, right? So there's one more thing that we could have done. So if we again run this, this will again throw an error, right? This again won't know which bean needs to be injected into the variable or into the type that we are trying to inject, right? So what we could have done is we could have used the red qualifier, and we could have provided the name of the bean that we are trying to inject. So let's say sum, and let's run this again. So this time we don't get an error, and we get our result as 8. This is because we are telling specifically, we are telling Spring that if there are more than one qualifying beans that can be injected into this variable, you should be injecting the bean with this particular name sum. Now what if we give some random name for which there is no bean? We again have an error as expected, right? So instead of doing this, we could have done something else as well. So let's just remove the unused imports, and let's call this the primary, right? And let's try to run this as a Spring Boot app. So now we have the subtract bean injected into this variable called ABC. Why? Because we are setting this bean as primary. So if there are multiple beans, then the primary one would be given precedence, and it would be injected into the variable, right? What if we had qualifier as well? And let's say we set the qualifier as sum, right? And let's run this as a Spring Boot app. So the sum bean gets injected into ABC. So qualifier gets precedence over primary, right? Now there are other ways to inject dependency. So apart from this, apart from doing this, we could have also done something like private math operation, say ABC, and could have done something like public demo application, let's say math operation ABC. Great. And this dot ABC equals ABC, right? And what we could have done is could have written autowired, right? And let's say okay, so we already have the primary annotation set here, right? Okay, so let's try run this. So we have our result as 2. So we can see the subtract bean is getting injected into this variable. Now what did we exactly do? What we did is called the constructor injection. So inside the constructor of this class, we are injecting this ABC, right? This variable AB. We are injecting the type math operation into this variable ABC. So what this exactly does is, at the time of bean creation, at the time when this object is called, or at the time when a new object of this class is created, this constructor is called, right? So at that time it injects this particular dependency into this variable, right? So apart from this, what we could have also done is, let's click on source, go to generate getters and setters, select all, okay, and let's say @autowire, right? And let's run this. So we have the bean subtract getting injected into ABC, right? Now what if we did the qualifier? We can also set the qualifier here. We could set the qualifier for constructor injection as well. So it says sum run as spring boot, and we have 8 as a result, right? So what we are doing here is we are doing a setter injection, right? So these are the various types of injection that we can do. We can use a field, so that is field injection. We could have written Autowire right here, right? So that is called field injection. We could have autowired a parameterized constructor, so that would have been a constructor injection. What we are doing here is autowiring the setter, so that is a setter injection. So these are the various ways in which we can inject types or inject dependencies into various components, right? And we have also seen how we can inject by name. So if the name is same and there are 2 qualifying beans, the bean with the same name as the variable would get injected, so that is injection by name. And then we have also seen injection by type. So if we change this to sum, let's say remove this, right? Remove the getter as well, and what we do is say autowired, and we change the type to sum. Right, remove the unused imports, and then let's run this. So now we are getting 8 because we are explicitly telling Spring that we want only of sum type. We don't want of math operation type, we want of sum type. We want something, a bean which is of sum type, to be injected into this variable, right? So that this is again injection by type. So we have seen injection by name. So if there are two or more qualifying beans and they are of the same type, and we are asking Spring to inject that particular type into a variable, then it'll check whether there is a bean which has the same name as the name of the variable, and if there's a bean that matches the name, then it'll inject that particular bean into this variable, right? So that is injection by name, injection by type we have seen. So that is basically how dependency injection works in Spring. And what is happening here is we are not creating an object ourselves, right? We are not creating an object. We are not using the new operator to create an object ourselves. We are rather telling Spring to inject a bean into this variable which is of a particular type. So depending on how we want or how we tell Spring to inject the dependency, Spring is going to inject the dependency, create the object for us, and then inject that particular object or that particular bean into this component. And Spring is also responsible for maintaining or managing the life cycle of the object that has been created, and perform all the best practices, take care of all the best practices of creating an object and destroying an object when it is no longer required, or garbage collecting it when it is no longer required. So yeah, that is basically all about this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy, please give it a thumbs up, and as always, if you're not already subscribed, please do subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.